Truth.info. So if you just let me know who you are again and explain why you're here and give us permission to run this on our website if you don't mind.
Okay, you have my permission. I'm Nancy Loeb. I'm the director of the Environmental Advocacy Clinic at Northwestern Pritzker School of Law. And our clinic is representing Stop EtO in efforts to ensure that emissions of EtO are stopped. People need to be protected from these kinds of emissions. They're cancer causing, and it's not fair to subject the community to them.
So, for people who are not in the know and are finding out about EtOs for the first time today, why don't we talk a little bit about what's going on here today and what's at stake and who the different players are in this confrontation.
Absolutely. I'm just put this down for a second. Ethylene oxide is a gas that's emitted in some manufacturing processes, including sterilizing medical equipment at Medline, which is located in Waukegan, and an Advantage, which uses it in operations located in Gurnee. And these companies acknowledge that they are emitting levels of ethylene oxide. The US EPA has called ethylene oxide a known carcinogen. That means we know it causes some kinds of cancers. We know it causes breast cancer, lymphoma, leukemia, other kind of blood cancers. And it's especially harmful for children and women.
So we know that the plant in Willowbrook was shut down because it was identified as a cancer cluster that was causing a higher than normal incidence of cancer in that area. And now I understand that the workload from that is being moved up here. So basically we already have cancer-causing emissions in Waukegan and Gurnee, and now those emissions are going to increase.
So I actually don't know whether or not some of that workload has moved up here to Medline. If it is, it's totally outrageous and unfair to this community. This is a lower income community than Willowbrook. We have a lot of people in communities of color, lower income, and the people here deserve the exact same kind of protections that the people in Willowbrook have been getting. We totally agree with what happened in Willowbrook. It's time for it to happen here.
So one thing I understand is that this process is used for sterilizing medical equipment, which is considered as an essential function. But at the same time, I'm told that a lot of what they do is not sterilizing medical equipment, but other industrial uses. Do you know anything about what percentages or what other kinds of uses that it's used for?
At the Vantage facility in Gurnee, it's all for other industrial uses. It is used as a compound that is a component of other industrial processes. One of the things that it's used for is to sterilize herbs that we all cook with, dried herbs. It's actually used in that process. At the Medline facility, I don't know whether they are doing anything besides sterilizing medical equipment. I know that Medline has a lot of different facilities in the area. This one in particular uses the ethylene oxide for sterilization. I don't know whether they're doing anything else there.
I'll have to do some work and get the background information on that.
One of the things I did want to mention is...
Go for it.
One of the reasons they were able to know that they needed to close down and seal the facility in Willowbrook, the Sterigenics facility, is because they did extensive air testing and air modeling. And we haven't been able to get that for Lake County. Our understanding is right now Lake County is planning to do a much, much smaller scale of testing than was done in Willowbrook. And so we aren't going to have the kind of data we need to show just how harmful what's happening here might be. US EPA was deeply involved in doing the testing in Willowbrook. They won't do anything here at all. They have refused to do any testing, and we don't know why. They refuse to answer my messages and talk to me to try to get an understanding of why they won't help more.
Did the EPA testing in Willowbrook start before the Trump administration?
I don't think so. I think it actually...
Or since it...
yeah.
There are certain changes have been made in the EPA since his administration.
A lot of changes have been made, and I think it's one of the problems that's happening. A lot of the knowledge that we have about ethylene oxide now is based on a study done by a program within US EPA called the IRIS program, IRIS. And it's a very science-based program with peer review of all data for assessing the dangers of different toxic chemicals. And after a 9-year process, the IRIS program concluded in 2016 that ethylene oxide was 30 times more dangerous than was previously understood. And getting that information out is how we learned about the problem for sterogenics. Now we know there's the problem. Illinois Department of Public Health did a study of actual cancer cases and learned that in many kinds of cancers around Willowbrook, cancers are much higher than the levels that would have normally been expected. We also know after they closed down the sterogenics facility, the levels of ethylene oxide in the environment dropped dramatically. In some places,
I heard 90%.
97% in some places. So the community there is getting protected. We deserve for the community here to get the same kind of protections. US EPA, Illinois EPA, and Lake County health officials have a responsibility to protect these people. That's why they're out here. They're saying, protect us. If you look, there are lots of children out here. Children are going to schools within a mile of where these emissions are happening.
I think your testimony here made it worth my while to come out, and I really appreciate your activism on behalf of the environment and our community.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.